All right, everyone, welcome back to our Midnight Magic Musings channel. I'm one of your hosts here, Lord Cephas. Tonight, we are joined by another member of the family, another gimmick, if you will. He's one of us. Tonight, we introduce to you, as part of our Midnight Magic Musings family, Terrence the Larynx. Terrence, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Lord Cephas?
You know, being a lord over a very large kingdom, over which I, dare I say, lord, it's hard, but you know what? I'm doing the best I can. I mean, it's hard to find good help.
I know, managing that 5 feet has got to be hard.
Well, at least it's not 6 feet, and it's usually under. So it's better than that. But I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. So tonight we've done some previews this week of some other family and friends that are going to be joining the channel. Terrence is going to be joining us as well. So we want to just get a little bit about his background, who he is, what his sci-fi, anime, fantasy, video game influences are, and just kind of get a feel of what's on his mind as we work him in over the weeks and months to come. So first things first, tell me and tell our listeners, what is your very first science fiction, anime, video game memory that kind of launched you into where you are today?
So the very earliest that I can remember, I'm sure there's earlier, but that I can remember was gotta be like early 2000, 2001, on the original PlayStation, or maybe it was PlayStation 2, I'm not 100% certain. It was a NASCAR game.
Okay.
And there was a code that you could put in to shoot paintballs out of the front of the car. So it was shoot out the tires. And that is the earliest I remember. My mom would always help me put that code in and just drive around, and I'd still get last place every time, but you know.
So just so we're all clear, you found a way to Grand Theft Auto the NASCAR game?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It was entertaining. Because at least it was paintballs, not real guns.
Who was your chosen NASCAR driver? Do you always remember that?
Tony Stewart.
You know, actually, I could see Tony Stewart doing that. So I think that's probably a good selection. Now, how old would you have been?
Ooh. That would have been 5, 6.
Yeah, 5, 6. All right. As far as some of the movies or television shows that really spoke to you then age, what would those have been?
So I really didn't start paying attention to movies, or actively watching movies, seeking out movies until I was in teenage years. It was really like a lot of comic book stuff, fantasy stuff, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, the god awful Mortal Kombat movies. Well, the first one, the second one, it had more violence, but the story.
Now we're talking about the mid-90s Mortal Kombat movies?
Yeah.
We may have to cut this short. How dare you? Just how dare you?
The first one was pretty good. The
Yes.
second one was like, okay, we're gonna take like the Mortal Kombat violence, bring it to the big screen, but they didn't do a good job with the story.
Yeah, it was nice the way they picked up where the first one left off right away. They didn't even have all the actors back that were in the previous one. I'm just messing with you. It wasn't that great of a story. I really liked the first one though.
Yeah.
I really, really did. So you mentioned Mortal Kombat as a video game. I want to come back to that in a minute. You said Star Wars. Are we talking the original 4, 5, and 6 episodes, or the prequels 1, 2, and 3? How does your fandom go with that?
So I actually started with 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Just because of obviously when I was born and when I was able to watch the movies, and obviously that's like technically the correct way to watch it for storyline purposes. Obviously, if you want the big shot, the big reveal, watching episode 4, 5, 6 and finding out, oh, that's Anakin Skywalker. Spoiler alert
Sure,
for anyone who hasn't seen that.
Right, 20 some odd years later.
So, but yeah, it started with the first 3, and I don't care what anyone says. The first 3 really were not that bad. They were pretty good. You can argue that, some of the writing and some of the acting was not the best, but again, like, I don't think that was necessarily actor's fault.
So Broken Ansible was on this channel the other night. He was talking about the very same thing, that he really felt like the writing really did Hayden Christensen as an actor a real disservice, because it didn't give him the ability to flesh out, at least in the second movie. He came off as kind of a teenage stalker in Broken Ansible's opinion. Then all of a sudden they're in love and they're married, and it kind of felt like there was some dialogue or some scenes that were missing. I personally liked the last 30 minutes of it, with the fight on Genosha and the Jedi all rip off their robes and they're there.
Yeah.
That was way cool. But the underlying love story part was a little lacking. But I don't know that, looking at 4, 5, and 6 that was super well done either. I think it was more of it's kind of fell into place.
Right.
Whereas this one, if you've got to tell this love story, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot harder.
Right. Because you've got the pressure of, you know, obviously Vader being Luke's and Leia's.
Okay, all right.
Luke and Leia's father. So you know you've got that huge pressure of like making sure you get that correct and like put it in a way that makes sense and like isn't just saying like, oh yeah, and here's like this random love story and you know like something like that. So you know there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. I think you know as they got further in those first 3 movies, 1, 2, 3, they like kind of like as it progressed, they focused more on action, more on fighting, and less about the story. And they were just trying to like make Anakin Vader, so that way it all tied together there.
What is your take on Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3?
A fantastic movie. I mean, definitely a really good way to tie everything in. Really show like Anakin's like descent into the dark side. But it just, I don't know. It almost feels like there was stuff left out. Like it feels like it's 90% finished. Like it feels like there's still something that we're missing that should be a part of that, but I couldn't tell you what that is.
Well, remember, only Marvel can make 3-hour movies and people sit through them. So yeah, it hadn't quite gotten there yet 20 years ago. We had bathroom breaks. We had to go.
Right.
All right. So I'm going to give you an opportunity.
Okay.
The prequels 1, 2, and 3. You can change one thing. What would it be? Or do you just leave it the way it is? What's the one thing you would change in the prequels? If you were allowed to make canon and your choice stuck.
If anything, I think it would have to be have they died. I genuinely think her like being alive and actually being able to be a mother to the children completely changes the way the entire story plays out. How Vader and Palpatine hunt down Luke and Leia.
That's true.
As you know, once it's discovered, you know, I think it definitely changes like her relationship with Ben, or whatever you want to call him. And would definitely like it just feels like it would have been an entirely different series. Just you know, with them actually having their mother and like shocked, obviously, you know, I'm the father, and then like having to have that discussion and like you know, watching that twist. And I think even with like had you know had the kids, you know, I think we may have even seen like Leia potentially like become her ability with the Force at some point, possibly. You know, because Luke and Leia never get separated, so Obi-Wan, you know, doesn't just happen to stumble across Luke or you know find him. Instead, they're in one spot where he has access to both of them and train them both.
Wow, that would be a major switch. That sounds like one of those legend stories that Disney disavows.
It probably is.
Or another dimension. Were you a fan of the Clone Wars, the cartoon series?
Oh yeah, that was so good. That was so well done. I think that really filled in a lot of the stuff that happened during episode 2 and like the stuff in between episode 2 and 3, and really like had it come out sooner, like if they had done like, okay, here's episode 2, now Attack of the Clone Wars, sorry,
Sure,
and then it went into 3 like that, I think that really made a huge difference in like how people portray the first movies.
it's interesting going back and watching. I started rewatching the Clone Wars series. You can tell it was not a Disney product,
Right.
because, and it surprised me because I didn't watch them because I was older, so it didn't really appeal to me as much. But going back and watching, like, oh my goodness, it's not just the clones that get mowed down, and you know their name was faceless. It's actual characters who legitimately lose their life. You can tell it's not a Disney property. It is now, but it wasn't at the time. And what I've seen of it, I think I'm in this halfway through season 2. It's been very interesting stuff. I've enjoyed what I've seen. It gives Padme more to do.
Right.
Me and Broken Ants will have this discussion about, does it redeem Jar Jar? And I'm like, does anything redeem Jar Jar? I feel bad for that actor because he was put in a very difficult position, unwinnable, because George Lucas has always said Star Wars was for kids. The adults all, you know, we all grabbed onto it as kids, and now here we are as adults. We're like, it's mine, you can't, you know. But if you look back, it was for kids. Yeah. So was it as offensive? Well, it doesn't play well today, quite obviously. But I've made peace with a lot of that stuff, because at the age I saw it versus the age you saw it, I already had my preconceived Star Wars notions, and I'd read some of the books. Now, to that point, are you much of a book reader in terms of the Star Wars universe?
So I was when I was younger. Not so much that I started getting older in school. I've been forced to read. So like
That just killed it for you, didn't it?
well, no, not necessarily that, but it was just I had to spend more time like reading school related stuff and could spend less time on stuff I wanted to read. Without sitting until 11 o'clock at night. I was trying to go to bed.
You were like, you're just not in for all that. So, what about the Star Wars video games? Did you play those as a kid growing up? And what would have been some of your standouts?
So yeah, I played obviously all the Star Wars classics.
Sure.
Obviously. Haven't played the remake yet. I played the first one. I remember that. I never finished it, but I do remember playing it. Qui-Gon was always my favorite to play as.
Okay.
I played the second one, which was really good. I think it was a step in the right direction with the video games. And it did a really good job of like episode 2 of basically just playing the movie of episode 2, but letting you control it and you get the place. So that was fun. And then episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, I argued the best one of those 3 games, obviously, because it was the latest to come across. And it just did it did the movie justice. You go through the temple scene when Anakin goes into the temple, slaughtering everyone. As dark as that might sound, you get to play out that whole scene. Like he's going through slaughtering all the
younglings?
No, not the younglings.
Okay, I just want to see where this was going. It's getting very dark very quickly here.
No, but just like the teenagers, Padawans and knights and everything like that. So it did a really good job of like taking those scenes in the movies and then like filling them in with extra stuff that like just wasn't like garbage. It was interesting. It was fun.
Do you think that as a fan base or the franchise needed that to kind of close the loop on why Vader was who he is? Because then in a vacuum, episodes 4, 5, and 6, he's just enigmatic, just evil, scary dude. When you go into episodes 1, 2, and 3, you have him as a little child, you have him as the whiny teenager, much like his son would be one day in episode 4.
Right.
So there's definitely a family connection there.
It didn't stop him.
He was better in Return of the Jedi, and he wore the black costume. He was solid.
Oh, yeah.
He was a little more mature.
Yeah.
But do you think they really needed that to kind of close that loop on showing why Vader was? Because some people argue that, well, it should have just stayed on its own. Let your mind create. And there's a certain section of the fan base in all genres that are like, well, I'd rather just think about what it was rather than see it. Where do you come down on that?
So just make sure I understand, like, are you talking about like the video game and kind of like, or just like the original, like the first 3 movies?
So the movies and all the filler stuff that goes with, and I don't mean disrespectfully, but all the other stuff that goes with it. Do you think that was really something that needed to happen to kind of push it forward?
Yes, and no. I think it was important in giving Anakin more depth and giving him more reason as to why he, was the person he was, not just like his crazy descent into the dark side and his mistrust of the Jedi Council, but everything from spoilers here for those who haven't seen it, during the Clone Wars when he's got Ahsoka, training her, and like them finding all the different ways to try and keep Anakin contained basically and keep him from falling into the dark side. Do I think it was necessarily important though to get the point across? No, because the movies did a good job. Right? Well, they did a good enough job of being like, hey, here's little innocent Anakin. All right, now he's a whiny teenager who like hates the fact that he can't have love, and now he doesn't trust the Jedi Council, and he and his best friend fought, and now he's the most powerful Sith Lord we've probably ever seen.
There's something to be said for maybe the Sith weren't wrong in everything. The Jedi come and take you when you're a child, and that's the end of your attachments to your family.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that for another day, but I do find that kind of one of those, it's kind of juxtaposition. Well, are the Sith all bad? I typically find most people aren't. People have some relative amount of goodness in them. Yeah. Are the Jedi all righteous and whatnot? No, which is probably a discussion for another day. So give me your read on, all right, so you moved from that, you went to 4, 5, and 6. How did that just flow very naturally for you, or?
Yeah, it did. Because I was able to play the video games and everything at the time too. So I never really had any moments of disconnect. And obviously I didn't have to wait like 15 years or maybe longer from finding out like, oh, here's Lord Vader.
I'm old. That's what he's trying not to say.
I'm just saying I'm not the one with the gray hairs.
Wow. He just went for it. Okay, don't worry. You'll get yours one day, pal. Don't worry, it's coming your way.
Yeah, sooner rather than later.
Probably so.
But yeah, no, I didn't have that massive disconnect, because obviously I didn't have that huge time span between the original 3 and then the prequel.
Right.
So I never really had like a disconnect. I never really had anything more relatable to the situation at the time. Being younger, being able to kind of relate to Anakin's edginess and anarchist attitude at a young age, and even now, like, I can still kind of sympathize. So
You're a danger to yourself and others, is what I hear you saying.
no, everyone's a hero in their own story.
That's true. If you're writing your story, you can do whatever you want to do. That's right. I'm tall and good looking in my story, none of which is true.
That's not true.
It is pretty true. That's a
look.
oh, thank you. You're sweet. You're sweet. Thank you. Love from the family member. Let me ask you this: 4, 5, and 6. One thing you would change, if anything.
So might be controversial take, but
That's what we do here.
Vader, Anakin, whatever you want to call him, getting kind of like a redemption.
At the end.
Yeah. I mean, do I think it's a great moment? Absolutely. Full circle idea that Anakin never fully committed to the dark side. It's just so torn apart by everything the Jedi had done to him, done to his life, that he saw no other option. But not everyone deserves a redemption arc.
So would you rather Luke have taken him down in battle and that have been it? Taking out him and the Emperor and call it a day, blow up the Death Star, celebration on Endor?
I don't. The issue. So this is like in some like deeper lore. So we're not going to spend too much time on this one. But so like the issue with him killing Vader outright, essentially, Palpatine was trying to like take Luke in a sense, absorb his life and turn him, either kill him or turn him into the dark side of the Force. So I don't think outright killing Vader would have been the necessary resolution. I still think Palpatine, like, actually getting brought down into the pit of doom.
I mean, it was a cool scene.
Yeah, I think that would have still been kind of like an end result. Palpatine dying. Spoilers for anyone who watches future movies.
Spoiler T here,
Yeah,
telling you everything going on.
So I think Palpatine would still need to die, but I don't think Vader necessarily needed to die. But I don't think he needed to have the redemption either. But with that being said, you can't really have Vader and Palpatine both exist with Luke there. Because if it's that part of like Vader where he never develops that attachment or whatever again for Luke, when he doesn't try and stop Palpatine. So in essence, Luke and Vader still fight. So Luke would either end up killing Vader or Vader would end up killing him. And honestly, I think Vader would have won.
I often wonder, and this is a controversial take, but I'll jump in the waters with you. Empire Strikes Back. There is a thought process that's kind of developed on Bespin, Cloud City, that why don't you join me and we overthrow the Emperor? Interesting. It kind of seemed like they were teetering that way, and then when Return started, that was dropped, and we just went straight. I've often wondered, what if? And I know you wouldn't have had the massive appeal that they did with how they did. I've often wondered if we told a alternate reality story, what that would look like.
Yeah.
If they had teamed up and actually destroyed the Emperor and ruled the galaxy as father and son. I think that's kind of a legend story, but I think that might have been interesting. Now, you watch Clone Wars. Do you like Rebels?
I don't think I've ever seen that, to be honest.
Right.
I don't think I've seen that, so maybe that is
So there's definitely, at least the inference from Comic-Con was you will see some of the characters from Rebels in live action.
Okay.
I think that'd be very cool. We'll see what Ahsoka the series brings. They had a lot of still shots and unfinished shots they showed, like looking at the computer or something. Yeah, it's not my favorite kind of thing, but I'll take what I can get. So that's kind of on the Star Wars side. You mentioned some others. You mentioned Lord of the Rings, which you are a massive fan of. Of course, they are doing a Lord of the Rings series coming up on Amazon. And it really, I have friends that love the idea. Some are just mortified by the idea. The fan base is, I think pretty much every fan base is fractured in some form or fashion. Some people like everything, some people like nothing. And then there's a dust in the middle who are kind of like, no, I like that. I didn't love that, but I really like this.
Right.
Do you kind of see yourself fitting in that place? Or are you a hardcore, it has to be canon, you can't soft reboot or adjust something?
Right. So I think with that, my issue lies there is I've never read the books, so I don't know where this goes. The only book from the series that I've read is Hobbit.
All right.
So any other books, I don't even know about them, like outside of like the main three that they did the movies on, Two Towers, and the Fellowship. So outside of that, I really don't have much knowledge besides what the Hobbit things. I don't know if there's more books. I don't know what I could, I could be wrong, I could be right. I just don't know. I think it's interesting that they finally decided to do something with it. I guess I don't know what they decided to do with it, because it's more, it has a cult following at this point. I don't think it still has that same grab and attachment that it would have had if you would have done this like even 5-6 years ago. I think at this point it's kind of outdated material. So if they mess it up, people are obviously just gonna stop watching it up right away. So I think it's one of those things like they have to do absolutely perfect for enough of the fan base that it can kind of reinvigorate that life and love for Lord of the Rings.
A tall order because everybody's got so many different opinions across. I don't know that it can be done to enough to please enough people, but I think that's just societally where we are right now. We're all keyboard warriors or podcast warriors, right? That's right. Hey, we're happy. We're family friendly. And we're actually not angry about everything in life. All right. So, okay, something. We are sports fans, so we do carry a little bit of anger. So, for our enemies. Well, one day we'll do a sports show on here and just go like for 3 hours on why we love the Cowboys and everybody else. That'll be your show. Mine will be why we love Terrence the Larynx anyway. Let's talk a little bit about Marvel. We talked about some of that over the weekend.
Yeah.
Comic-Con was just a treasure trove of things. And I don't even think we even have a clue what D23 is going to drop in September. I think they're going to be dropping major bombs, things we don't anticipate. I have an opinion that may not be popular, but I'm getting old, so I can feel like I can speak on this. I feel like Marvel has been what Star Wars was to me, has been that to this generation. Star Wars is still a thing, but amongst the younger generation, I don't think it's as popular as Marvel is because we've had 14, 15 years of, well, almost 30 Marvel movies. If you add up everything, we're not even counting Disney Plus series or what was on Netflix, which might be canon this week. We'll see about next week. So I kind of feel like that's really taken over the pop culture segment that Star Wars did for me. I love the Marvel stuff, don't get me wrong. We saw them, first thing they talked about Black Panther. I know you were excited, so we're going to go into this. I only get you for a brief time. The trailer was awesome. It had one line in the whole trailer. Basically, it was T'Challa's mom saying that she's lost all of her family. Angela Bassett did no wrong. In my sight, she is a regal, beautiful lady. And when she speaks that line, she speaks it with such grace and feeling. I was like, I don't really need to hear any other words. Right. She set the tone. So that's my take on it. You just kind of freestyle here about how you feel about where they're going with Black Panther.
So yeah, that whole that like delivering of that line is like fantastic. And it kind of gives us a brief hint of where they might be starting with the movie. Because I have a feeling that line is going to come pretty early on in the movie. I think it's going to, because that is essentially during the time when everyone got so I think we're going to be doing like some huge backtracking here into that time. But that's another question for another day. Black Panther, though, it has the potential to set up quite a bit. One of, obviously, who's going to be the next Black Panther. Everyone has their speculation. Not going to talk about the comic book universe because that can lead to spoilers and watch. But the biggest introduction here is obviously going to be who the next Black Panther is. the introduction of Namor
Mhm.
as their villain, and the possibility of who else could be introduced at the very end in potential end scene credits. We talked about that off camera.
Yep.
Somebody
Somebody might be pulling strings. You were mentioning.
Yeah. I don't want to get into that here because again, it could be potential spoilers. And I might be correct on that, but I don't want to spoil that for everyone
Right.
because not everyone enjoys the comics or not everyone wants to read the comics or search Google and find the answer. Either way.
Sure.
So yeah, it sets up so much for the future. And with the way that phase 5 and phase 6 is laid out for Marvel right now, they have to do a lot in the next 4 years to really set up that the Secret Wars and the Secret Invasion that we'll be getting soon. There's a lot to fill in. That Black Panther is going to start kicking off for us right away.
You alluded to it. Let's go right there. They announced 2 Avengers movies.
Yeah.
In the same year.
Yeah.
At the end, it's going to be Avengers King Dynasty.
Yeah, King Dynasty.
And then
Secret
Wars. We've never had 2 Avengers movies in the same year.
Yeah.
When Endgame took place, that was 1 year, and then we had to wait an entire year for Infinity War and then Endgame, which I was so stoked when that time came. I typically don't go to the movies the first night it happens just because kids and family stuff. I just don't have the opportunity. I went the next night. I found a way to go because I'm like, I have to see this. Phase 4 really struggled because of COVID. They couldn't have helped that. And releasing those movies during that time, Black Widow suffered greatly. Shang-Chi did suffer, although I love Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi was really good.
Considering nobody knew who that character was,
Right.
I think they made a heck of a movie. And I look forward to seeing him going forward. Eternals, I'm still working on making peace with it.
Eternals was, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're
Sorry.
fine.
Eternals was not necessarily a great movie. But the timeline of it and where it sits within the Marvel franchise is really what's kind of important about it.
I think so. Yeah.
Because I don't know how active you're on Facebook, but I'm sure some of your viewers are active on Facebook. And I'm sure a lot of people have been seeing the meme about how Eternals came out and there's like the giant hand and the big head sticking out. And that if you recognize that,
Who it might be.
yeah, who it might be, if you recognize who that might be, that has huge implications leading up to everything that's going to happen over the next 2 years.
It's interesting because you said, in your opinion, I agree with you, it wasn't a great movie. I think after 30 movies, they're allowed to have a miss here and there. I mean, nobody is 30 for 30. Jordan, who I still think is the best basketball player ever, hit 30% of his shots on a good night. 20 free throws, he's got 35 points. He's the best player ever. He missed 2/3 of what he took. Or Derek Jeter, who I didn't like the Yankees, but I certainly respect him. He's a Hall of Famer. He hit 1 out of every 3 times, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So I think we have to be fair in how we look at these things. I mean, 30 movies, and I'd say probably 26 of them were really good. A couple of them were just okay, and then 1 or 2 are just like, sometimes you hit, to quote Jim Ross, the wrestling announcer, about when Mabel won King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Guys, look, we don't get it all right. So that's kind of how I look at it. God bless Mabel's soul. I know he passed on a few years ago. I think you got to give an opportunity. If you don't like it, go into it with an open mind, I feel like. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. I watched Miss Marvel. I wasn't sure I would like it. But when Lady Cephas and I sat down and watched it, we totally got it from the beginning because we have teenage girls. We totally understand. It's not a normal Marvel series. So I have to realize it's not going to appeal to everyone. That's okay. Things that appeal to you, maybe I don't like them. Like, that's cool if he likes it. Go run with it. I wonder sometimes the fan base, we should sort of be a little careful about cutting off our nose to spite our face. Don't be that group that complains all the time. I mean, call out something that's not good. But complain. In fact, now Broken Ansel and I, we go back and forth on this. He feels like the fan base owns the IP. And my argument is, well, legally, the company owns the IP and they can do with it what they want. Now, his thought is, yes, but as fans, we can revolt and not watch it. That's true. You certainly can. But I think at this point, they have enough fan base to kind of fill some of that in versus where Star Wars may struggle with that because the fan base is getting older. So Black Panther, we don't want to go too deep into spoilers, but I think there's some really exciting stuff. What about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania? Go ahead, take it.
So that's also another big one. This one is in the description of the movie, so this isn't a spoiler.
Mhm.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, they go into the quantum realm and they end up taking on Kang, one of the variants of Kang, which obviously has huge implications for the next phase, and obviously for phase 6, considering we're getting Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. Which version of Kang it is, though, is going to be kind of important to how the story progresses, because we are going to go into a little bit of comic here, but just a quick moment to talk about this. There is a version of Kang in the comics, a good version, who comes in and joins the Avengers. So depending on what Quantumania does with it, we may see, just Ant-Man and the Wasp take on Kang themselves. We may also see these two variations of Kang, that hero version, and then whichever evil version it is, go toe to toe. So it has a lot of huge implications. Obviously, I think one of the biggest things with Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp in general, and Marvel, is how the quantum realm works. There doesn't seem to be any major consistencies within it. The biggest explanation we have for the quantum realm is that time operates differently within the quantum realm. Because Ant-Man was gone for, what was it, like 5 years or whatever, because he wasn't a part of the blip.
He was just stuck in there, he couldn't get out.
Right. But really, it was like, what, 2 years or something like that, but it'd really been like 5 years for everyone else in the real world when he was coming out. So, there's no consistency in the quantum realm and how it operates and how the Avengers are able to manipulate it so easily, which you can just kind of chalk that up to storytelling.
We're not theoretic physicists. We don't know all the inner workings. We're just, it's entertainment, just roll with it.
Right, and that's probably just going to be one of those things that it works when they need it to work and how they want it to work.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it. It's less pressure on the fan to just be like,
right, because sometimes you don't need an explanation for everything.
I'm not that person. I don't have to. I sometimes I'd like to, but otherwise I'm like, it's fun. I spent 2 hours and forgot about my troubles. Yay me.
Right. So yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp with Quantumania is going to be huge. Again, it's going to introduce Kang, which is obviously a very important part of the next 4 years of Marvel stuff. And they have a whole movie dedicated.
So Loki, season 1, ends with a version of Kang.
Yes.
Kind of a scatterbrained one, barely holding things together. Not super impressive. Having that conversation with Lady Cephas, she's like, so he's the big bad? I'm like, yes, but not necessarily him specifically, but I think one that you will see is far more powerful and far more together than what you saw there. Just give it some time. I think it's going to be good. I think it has the potential to be good. Let's let it play out and just see. I think one of the things we should talk about one day when you have some time is, okay, we're heading to Avengers Kang Dynasty. We're heading to Secret Wars. Here's the question. When is the last time we had an Avengers movie? It was Endgame. We took out Tony Stark and for all intents and purposes, Steve Rogers. Yeah. You're going to go out a roster of Avengers and trying to figure out, okay, who your roster will be. Who do you slide into those roles? Because honestly, that was the tentpole of the Marvel franchise. Guardians is good.
Yeah.
But even they were second to Avengers Assemble. And, in that last 45 minutes, there's tears streaming down my eyes because I'm that kind of person. I loved it.
Yeah.
Because they were all together. Yeah. But the Avengers themselves, they've been the tentpole. So who are they kind of grooming and prepping to be in that role? Have we seen everybody you think that could potentially be on the team? Or do you think there will still be some that'll come along that maybe last minute insertions that we haven't even thought of yet?
So there's definitely going to be a lot more. There's definitely going to be a lot more. With as much as Marvel announced at Comic-Con for phase 5 and 6, there is still so much more that has yet to be filled in that I'm sure they haven't revealed to us. The thing with the new group of Avengers that comes in, comic book wise, really comes back to Marvel acquiring all of their assets from what was it, 20th Century Studios or whatever, 20th Century Fox, whoever it was, in 2019, because they got the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and they get all of the properties that come with that, which is what makes up a very large portion of this new group of Avengers.
Right.
We also have Falcon currently as Captain America. True. But that does change in the comics. And spoiler alert, it's the one that everyone wants to be Captain America that currently isn't Captain America. I'll leave everyone to figure that out.
Yes, who could that be?
Right. I wholeheartedly believe we'll see the return of Wanda.
Okay.
Because I know we're getting that to a second.
Sure.
But I wholeheartedly believe we'll see the return of Wanda to everything as an Avenger. And with the acquisitions of Fantastic Four, X-Men, the Inhumans, all of that, we're going to see a lot of characters that people have been begging for years that have been ruined by other franchises or other studios.
Are we talking about the last Fantastic Four movie where it started as one movie and halfway through it became something totally different?
Yeah, the Fantastic Four movies all were kind of garbage, except for the first one.
The one in the 90s with Roger Corman when it was really. That's
one,
not who you mean.
No,
Oh,
that's before my time. That one was okay. I have seen it. It's okay. Obviously, I think it was a little ahead of its time with what the Fantastic Four are.
I actually thought it wasn't that bad
Yeah,
considering the budget you were working with,
right.
and I mean, it was a lot of money,
right?
Compared to maybe the 20th Century Fox movies, they did okay.
And then the reboot in was like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, they did that one.
That was Chris Evans and all of them.
Right, because he was Human Torch.
Yeah. Which would be fantastic. Unintended.
I see what you
to
did
see
there.
him return as Johnny Storm if he decides to come back into the fold. But Marvel has like a big thing on that.
Right.
So that's another point. Anyways, yeah, their acquisitions that they got in 2019 is really going to be the driving point of filling out this new group of Avengers, which could either be it's either going to be the new Avengers or the young Avengers, whatever you want to call it.
I wondered about that because you've got Kate Bishop,
Yeah,
who's in Hawkeye. By the way, love that show, love that actress. I thought she was amazing. I really enjoyed that. You can put her, Miss Marvel. Mm-hmm. If you choose to put in someone different under the Spider-Man outfit, you can keep Tom Holland. But if you choose not to, maybe they go Miles Morales fine. I know there's a lot of people that want it. We'll see. There's something to the Peter Parker one that I think has a legacy. But you could do that. If we ever get Wanda back, she could always have her kids join the Young Avengers. I mean, assuming they're real. Read the comic book if you ever want to see their origin story. It was a lot more sanitized in the Disney Plus series in WandaVision than the way it really went down. And that's just one of the times they told the story. They've rebooted it so many times. There's some creepy parts to it too. But we're not, Disney Plus, they're not doing that. I don't blame them. I don't want my kids watching it anyway. But I think there's a lot of opportunity there. It does disappoint a little bit that you've got to wait so long to get to whether they call them the X-Men or the mutants or whatever they end up doing. It's going to be 20 years since the Marvel Universe started before we really get to them. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of fan base is there when they come. I mean, the diehards will come because we grew up reading the comic books and loving the X-Men. But I do think at a certain point, the longer you wait for some of these, the lesser the return will be. If you had done it post Endgame, that might have broken some really good records. Doing it 10 years after that, it'll still do well. But it's just I like to. I'm always fascinated by the business side. Black Widow, man, she got jobbed very hard when they brought her movie out because she put on Disney Plus, and she was never going to get. Shang-Chi did better because of at the point they came out. The Eternals, that was still in a rough patch too. But you look at Spider-Man: No Way Home, and I know it's a Sony movie, but look what it did. Doctor Strange just missed $1 billion. Now, some people call that a disappointment. I'm gonna roll my eyes at that one. If the $1 billion is the number you want, then guess what? Shazam 1, which I love, is a disappointment because it made only around 400 million. And if that's a disappointment, why are they greenlighting number 2, which they showed at Comic-Con? We'll mention that, which I like that trailer. I'm a Zachary Levi guy. I love him. I'm a follow social media posts, and I adore him ever since Chuck back in the day. I think there's a lot of good stuff coming. I hope that the fan base appreciates we're in a golden age. Enjoy it. I know today they announced that the Flash TV series Next season will be its final season. It's ninth season, but it only gets half a season order, so 13 episodes. I'm not surprised. It's been running on fumes for a couple of years, but I still watch it because I love Grant Gustin, who plays the Flash, and who's it? Candace Patton, who plays Iris. God bless it. And she's a Cowboys fan. You should be happy about that. That's right. He should be happy about that. I've always loved the chemistry and enjoyed that. I think after a while with the Arrowverse, they were the only thing really left. Since Superman and Lois are technically now not set in the Arrowverse, another program for another day as to how I try to understand it. It is, but I'm interested to see where they go with Shazam. I think we might get an appearance by someone. I'm not going to spoil that. Black Adam was interesting. It's sort of the anti-hero thing. Okay. Well, I'm willing to give it a shot. I love The Rock, so you know.
My only thing is The Rock. Like as much as I love The Rock, both as a wrestler as an actor, he's not very like dimensional. He's got about two sides. He
only needs two: a rock bottom and a people's elbow. But go ahead on.
I mean, he's the people's champ. So
he is the people's champ.
But you know, he's a very two-dimensional actor. Good at his roles, good at the roles that he plays. But it's like he's either the macho man, like ooh, I'm gonna be whatever, or hero is whatever, and then he's like the goofy, like oh, I'm a jokester, but I'm still a big tough guy.
Like him on.
Yeah, or Jumanji.
Which I like the Jumanji quite a bit too.
Yeah. So he does a good job of playing those roles, but seeing him kind of step into something significantly more serious and darker. And I think that's the biggest difference because like he stepped into a little bit more of a serious role with the Fast and Furious, but also more of an action role. Watching him step into Black Adam, and like we can talk about DC all day about things are doing, other things are doing. But like, they can't establish Black Adam. This movie flops. Like, what are you going to do with DC at this point? And I don't think The Rock.
I don't know because I'm still not sure what's going on with Henry Cavill, who I really enjoyed as Superman. I just don't know what's going on there.
Rumors are he's going to play Wolverine. It's just rumors. But
don't tease me like that. I'm not emotional.
I'm not teasing you. Like everything I find is like rumors, and they're all pointing to him being Wolverine. They have like a couple actors and names. I can't drop them right now because I can't think of them. But Henry Cavill is like the one that sticks out like most amongst everyone.
That would be amazing to see a little crossover between DC and Marvel a little bit. But I mean, if they're going to use him,
right?
Hey, latch onto this property because he's already a star. You watched The Witcher? I think I saw the first two episodes, but then there was some nudity in one of the episodes, and we weren't allowed to watch it anymore. So I think I made it through one episode. I made it through that one actually. That kind of killed the watching it. Lady Cephas was not impressed, so we didn't need to watch anymore. I wanted to judge it on its artistic merits. Yeah. She didn't.
You can also play the game too. I mean, that's a little bit more of a trial.
That's true. But I would love to see him attached to it. Now, it's interesting that Marvel's really reaching for those A-list actors and actresses. I mean, look at Eternals. I mean, they swung for the fences.
Yeah.
You've got Angelina Jolie and Salma Hayek.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, holy cow! They got the both of them. Or if you look at Thor: Love and Thunder, Gore, Christian Bale. It's an amazing get. You had who was Hela in Ragnarok? Was it Kate Blanchett? No. I'm having a mental fog here as we get late at night. But they get top tier people to be in this, so they've got that going for them. That's a little extra buzz.
And it's crazy how they get so many like A-listers to just be like one-off villains.
True, or your Matt Damon in the Thor, which I think it's so ignored, but it's so tremendous.
Yeah,
it's so ridiculous. But I'm like, I dig that. And the dude does not take himself too seriously to be in those roles and be like, just having fun.
Right.
I'm getting paid, and I'm in movies my kids like.
Right. And
I'm popular still. I mean, all joking aside, isn't that the deal? Samuel L. Jackson doesn't say no to movies.
Right.
He's been in some questionable movies.
Right.
Snakes on a Plane.
You know what though? It was good for what it was.
No, because they ate a Chihuahua, and I had a Chihuahua when I was a younger man. I didn't like it. I just wasn't feeling it.
I'll let it on the plane.
Don't let the snakes on the plane. That doesn't happen.
Oh, you didn't really. Samuel Jackson did have a place in that.
That's true, but he always has the speech ready to go. Or Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, yeah, I forget about
One of the greatest things they ever did is right. He's in the middle of giving a Nick Fury type speech.
Right.
Oh, he gone. Yeah, I was actually went back and watched that the last couple of days. I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
how great that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff that doesn't get the run after a while. I'll argue the Meg wasn't terrible. I didn't say it was great. It didn't win an Academy Award, but it wasn't terrible. I can be entertained. But then again, I like asylum movies too and B and C movies because I get what they are. So we've talked a bit about Marvel, a little bit about DC. I've got one more topic round I want to throw out at you. Wrestling. Wrestling. I know that there was a time that you were heavy into wrestling. The reason I bring it up, Ric Flair had his last match again.
Yeah.
I was actually at your house the night he had his first retirement match against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. Again, tears then.
Yeah.
I did not watch Sunday Night Number One. I was going to pay $35 to watch a 73-year-old man potentially not make it out of the, I mean, seriously, having concerns. I mean, and he does what Ric Flair does. He struts, he woos, he figure fours, he bleeds. And at 73,
you're not getting much more out of that.
My father-in-law is 87. That's not that much older than he is. I'm like, when he bleeds, it's a scary thing. So I'm like, I don't want to watch it. That's me personally. What are some of your favorite wrestling memories? So we've had people ask us to talk about wrestling. So the last couple of shows, we've touched on it just a little bit.
Yeah. So one of my favorite like runs in the WWE was the Legacy one. Ted DiBiase, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton.
That's okay. All right. That's old school. I like that.
That was a really good time period. I think that was a really good showcase for like Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase. DiBiase, a little, not the best, like I'd say he's a solid B star. But he just kind of fell off very fast because he just couldn't gain the same traction as Cody Rhodes. I mean, obviously Orton was a certified star already from his Evolution days and everything. So yeah, that was one of my favorite runs in history. I was always a big fan of the Hardy Boys, even when they had their own backyard wrestling thing going on.
So random fact, while we were in North Carolina, I drove to Cameron, North Carolina.
Nice.
That's where they're from. Like, you know what? That's creepy. That's probably as far as I should go. It was on the road I was traveling down. And there's the sign to Cameron. I'm like, I want to go see Broken Matt Hardy. I really do. I didn't.
Yeah.
But I considered it. But
so yeah, all of their TLC matches back in the day. The one with who was it? Edge and was it Edge and Chris?
Edge and Christian.
Was it Edge and Christian? Was it?
I think it was Christian.
Edge and Christian, Rhino, Chris Benoit, I think was in that match because I think it was Chris Benoit and Rhino, and then the Dudley twins, Dudley brothers, not twins.
I was gonna say they don't really look like they're not fraternal twins. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, I think probably my most favorite moment in WWE history though probably would have to be who was it? It was Jeff Hardy. He was up on the Titantron. And he did a swan song from the top of the Titantron. Who was it? It wasn't Shane through the table. I don't remember who it was. It was a high profile name that I just can't remember who it was. Probably my favorite moment in wrestling history. Obviously that's much younger. I guess if I had to go back a little bit older, because I've gone back and I've really watched a lot of older stuff. The Rock and Stone Cold, their first fight at WrestleMania, one of the best like choreographed fights I think I've ever seen in my life. Stone Cold and The Rock, they both sell everything really well. Always trying to outperform each other.
The Rock taking the stunner and going down, and his legs go flying up in the air. Yeah,
right.
Yes, good stuff.
Stone Cold getting hit with a rock bottom or the people's elbow and like having like a spasm. They both did such a great job of like just working with each other, selling everything, and they really made it like something worth watching. And even knowing that it's not real, knowing that. What did you say?
Shane Preston wasn't real.
It's still real to us.
It's still real to us. That's right. All right, keep on.
So that was just a really cool point in time. Hogan switching over to the NWO, that was, it was cool. It was weird. It was a nice change of pace for him. Not really like his thing though.
Made a good amount of money off it though.
Right. And then, it was like the perfect like face change for him. So,
The red and the yellow.
yeah. Or that time period when he got suspended and he wore the mask to the ring, was pretending to be a wrestler.
Oh, Mr. America.
Yes, that's it, Mr. America. Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad, but it was kind of a good bad. Kind of like it's terrible, but I'm gonna watch it just because.
Right. It's like, they obviously you're not getting rid of him. You cannot get rid of a big star for like no reason. So that was really cool. I think one of the things that I really disliked over the last handful of years is one, WWE obviously letting this town go. They kind of had to with COVID. So they couldn't pull the same numbers, just from
Right.
television, not being able to pack arenas with actual people. So obviously having to let a lot of this young talent go and a lot of their older talent too. But I think a lot of it came back to things, which hopefully we'll see. We'll see what Triple H can do, because I'll get to that in a second. But a lot of those older wrestlers, they can't, there's really no point in them carrying them anymore. After Hogan, John Cena was like the next big, like the real big, like, where'd you go?
Yeah, can't see me. I'm over here, dude.
Oh, my bad.
Can't see me. That's the way it is.
John Cena was like the real big name, like after Hogan.
Right.
The first guy to really like take over that mantle and like be the face of the WWE. Obviously everyone knows The Rock, Stone Cold, but you would never sit there and say like, yeah, that's the face of the WWE.
That was a different 4 or 5 year period of time, where what they call the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
When Cena comes along, they've now become a publicly traded company. They're transitioning to more PG. And I have no beef with John Cena. He's one of the hardest working wrestlers, but also does some of the make-a-wish things.
Oh yeah, he's the most
My goodness.
person, I think.
So I got no beef with him. In fact, I'm actually happy that he's doing some Hollywood projects, because you know what? Your body only has a certain number of bumps it can take. Go do something with your life. I actually thought he was pretty good in the last Fast.
Yeah. I will say though, his sixth move of doom that he debuted like 2-3 years ago or whatever it was.
Well, it was 5. Started with 5.
Yeah, he started with 5 and then he added that 6th one. And then 4
It's a different wrestling genre than we started watching, which, by the way, in my move back to Florida last year, I finally ended up carrying my CM Punk shirt that y'all bought me. I had it for 10 years and wore it everywhere. And finally it got in a little hole in the side, and I caught it on something it tore. I burned it out of respect. It's like no one else should ever touch it. And see, that was my baby. I love that shirt, by the way. They got one size up from what I wear, and I absolutely loved it. It's so comfortable to be in. For me, Summer Punk was really wonderful with his comments, and he didn't say anything they weren't going to let him say, because they control the mic. They can cut it at any point. If they didn't want him saying what he said, they'd have turned it off. So there's. It's not they call it a shoot where you're being honest. Yeah, he was shooting, but they were letting him up to a certain point. I enjoyed that. Now he's come back with AEW, and I liked when he came back. I liked him winning the championship, and then he promptly gets hurt. So it's harder in your mid-40s to recover, So I look forward to him coming back, but I would say Punk would have been my favorite. Then post him, probably AJ Styles, because he's phenomenal. You don't want none. Just like the song says. I had that as my ringtone for a long time. So. Oh, it's his phone going off. I didn't know if he was being attacked by a swarm of bees, hornets. I didn't know what was taking place.
I have my Spotify sleep playlist set to start at 9:30.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Here's something extra. It's a benefit added. We get to hear, what does Terrence the Larynx like to listen to at night?
Rain sounds.
I like that.
Some calm, relaxing jazz, a little bit of beach sounds.
Nice.
Some nice rainforest sounds.
Nice.
And then any sort of like girl, is that what it's called? Like 5-year-old or something like that. Bass waves and things like that.
Does it help?
Oh yeah.
I might have to get this in there, because I could use something like that to help fall asleep.
Yeah, I kind of messed up on the playlist. I accidentally added like some super upbeat jazz to it on accident one time. So like, it'll be like some nice smooth rainfall, nice crack of thunder, And then next thing you know, you're like doing some like Uptown Funk type jazz.
We'd have been here sooner, but I was waiting for Uptown Funk to finish giving it to me. So I'm sorry I was late. That's what the song must mean. My girls hate jazz. I question paternity.
Yeah.
And so I'm concerned about their outlook on life. If you don't like jazz, they don't like swing music, you know.
I mean,
I'm a fan of that stuff. I'm an older type person. I like that older stuff, or some of the Delta blues from the 40s, 50s. There's some wickedly good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And let's be honest, a lot of the artists that hit it big, that influenced them a great deal.
Oh,
And
yeah.
unfortunately, those artists didn't get anything. And these people got, you know, even the Beatles will talk about it. Paul McCartney talked about it. They heard this stuff and like, what is this?
Yeah.
Let's take a little bit of it. But you know, that's the way life is in every walk of life. All right, I'd be remiss by your mother and by your sister if I didn't ask you this. They're obsessed with Disney.
Yeah.
What is your level of obsession with Disney, if at all?
I like the movies. I like the music. It's kind of about it. I don't really get too deep into it. Yeah, I like some. Sorry.
I've touched a deep nerve.
Yeah, right in the throat. I like talking about it, but I'm not gonna go like Disney's not really my thing. Like theme parks in general aren't my thing. Universal is really kind of the only theme park that I really ever go to, and I haven't gone for 4 years.
Yeah, it's for the building Nintendo Land.
Yeah,
And they're gonna do Mario Kart.
I know.
If I were Disney, I'd be like, oh, are you kidding me? Why? All right, let's go ahead and just kind of start to wrap this up a little bit. I want to do a little rapid fire with you, get your take on some things, see what you see, where you come from. All right, this is just personal taste. Give me whatever comes to your mind first. Pie or cake?
Oh God.
What kind?
Cherry or apple. Cherry or apple.
Ice cream on or not?
Oh yeah.
Okay. On that note, favorite flavor of ice cream?
It's like vanilla.
Plain, no toppings, no.
Yeah, just straight up vanilla.
Nothing wrong with that. Is it vanilla bean?
It could be any like flavor of vanilla, French vanilla, vanilla bean. As long as it's vanilla, I'll eat it.
I'll say whatever's on sale that week. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's your favorite soda?
Favorite soda easily Dr. Pepper.
All right. Easily, Dr. Is there? So everything is a distant number 2 at best.
Oh,
What's your distant number 2? None. Ooh, inability to sleep. No wonder. Pound of Mountain Dews. All right. So we know that you like pie. We know that you like Dr. Pepper. Favorite food?
You know, as cheesy as it might sound, wrong in any and all forms. I think not like just like little packs of ramen, like you know, really getting into it. There's actually an Asian market, or I think it's a little more Chinese based here in James 134th Ensign Market. Sponsor him.
Okay. Please do. We need it. We're here for you. You be here for us.
But it's really cool. It's got a lot to it.
All right. So a couple other questions for you, and then we'll go back into some other things.
Okay.
Favorite Harry Potter movie? No, you don't have one, or just?
Oh, I actually just wanted it.
Oh, I mean, if that's your response, the response will be so noted in the record.
Order of the Phoenix.
All right. What number is that? Okay.
Wait.
Because 4 is the Goblet of Fire. So yeah, so 2 is the prisoner, or 3 is the prisoner of Azkaban, I think. 4 is the Goblet of Fire. I'm on number 4, so I've only seen up to that point.
Yeah, 4 is Goblet. Okay.
Okay.
So 5 is Order of the Phoenix.
That would be your favorite?
Yeah.
Okay. If I gave you an airline ticket, you can go on vacation anywhere you want by yourself, where would you go?
Oh man. Always wanted to go to the Philippines. Filipino. My dad's from the Philippines. It's cool to see it, kind of explore it.
Sure.
You know, find out how the coast of Asia even exists.
Sure.
Besides just being a massive landmass, and
The fact that it's there.
right, you know, our biggest claim to fame in the Philippines is that we killed Magellan.
That's not true. Tim Tebow was born there. I would think that would be the best thing ever.
I don't know. he does have his place in the history books. So I mean, fair. He's got more than Magellan, because Magellan didn't actually go all the way around the world because he was killed in the Philippines. His crew finished getting back to wherever it was.
I don't like your historical accuracy. I don't think that's appropriate.
I used to be a big history buff back in the day.
What changed? The answers don't change, so you should still be a history buff, right?
Kind of forced upon me, because up until it was like started being forced in a negative way. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So it was forced upon me in a negative way, and in a way that I couldn't enjoy it. So I just kind of.
Is this school related?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If I were to get in your car right now, your radio turns on.
Yeah.
What song is it? What song's gonna be playing?
It's called F the Rest by following in reverse. I'm sorry.
I didn't know. I really didn't know. We
I-
don't rehearse this stuff. I just
I-
ask.
It was the last song that played on my way in here.
Sipping my water and disdain.
But you might also hear, some lovely. Yep. I went to a Christian concert before, back when I was deep in my faith.
Mhm.
It had like Sean Locke.
I've heard him. Yeah.
That one group who just repeats their chorus 20 times and that's their whole song. I can't remember the name.
Hillsong? No, sorry. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Love Hillsong. It's fine.
I think that's right.
I kid because I care.
There was Skillet. There was a couple other artists.
I like Skillet.
Not to make fun of anyone.
No, that's not weird.
But yeah. So that would be like the first thing you would hear.
Least likely place for you to ever be seen.
Oh, golly. In public.
In public, yes.
Not a big public person. Yeah, like any sort of like massive gathering. I go out maybe once. Do that anymore.
Okay, fair enough. Favorite appetizer to order?
Oh, cheesesteaks. Every time.
Glorious. All right. Just a couple of things I want to go over with you, and we'll just kind of free flowing it here tonight. What is your favorite Zelda video game?
Oh, wow.
I told you, man, we're eclectic here. We go deep. We want to know
Yeah.
who you are.
Yeah. So probably what was it, Wind Walker?
Okay.
Either Wind Walker or the very first one. Because those are the two that I can remember playing and I actually being able to pay attention to. I know I've played a lot of them, but I can't actively remember a lot of them. I don't know if that's locked behind my aging brain and
Possibly.
I can't remember them or what.
I blocked out a lot of video games I couldn't beat, so I don't remember having played them. That would be for me. What is your ultimate most loved video game system?
Oh man, easily as cheap as it might sound, the PS2. One of the greatest consoles of all time. And that's not like me. Like the opinion wise, that's like just facts. One of the greatest selling consoles of all time. But I also really enjoy Super Nintendo. I'm also a big fan of Atari, and as simple as it is.
Which version of the Atari?
The was it the 3000? The 3000, yeah.
Well, when I was old, because when I was younger, I'm old now. We had the Atari 2600 with the joystick, gloriously bad, but it's all we had. I didn't care for that, but Space Invader and Pac-Man, Pitfall, underrated game, by the way. Always a great game. I played Dig Dug. There's nothing wrong with that. Galaga, big fan of that as well. What is your dream job?
Oh, you mean like an actual job?
I mean, look, people cuddle for a living, so who am I to judge? I mean, if that's your goal in life, by all means, pursue it.
I don't know. I've actually been kind of struggling with that because when I was, in my last years of high school, my dream job was to be a music director, band director, or music teacher of sorts. But then I kind of like get into the philosophical side of things. The idea of a dream job is just like a way to reinforce that you have to work, that you should work just to survive. But that's getting into a whole other discussion.
Deep Thoughts
Yeah,
by Terrence the Larynx.
we're keeping it pretty shallow.
We're trying to. We're trying to. I'm sorry for leading you down that road. Let's. Oh, we're not here to say anymore. We're here to be happy. Favorite candy?
Oh, Reese's by a mile.
Which version?
Oh, he's the original cups.
Peanut butter cup?
Yeah.
Do you even dabble in the white peanut butter cup
Oh, yeah.
or any different flavored ones of those?
Yeah, Reese's Sticks, Reese's Fast Breaks, the more recent peanut butter lovers one.
What's your take on Nutrageous?
Outrageous, it's a little too much for me, but it still tastes good.
It does taste really good. By the way, Hershey announced this week there are going to be shortages at Halloween. They're already calling for it. I'm very disappointed in where our supply chain issues are right now.
Let me just order a case on Amazon right now.
I think you need to get in front of the Halloween rush that apparently is going to come. What is the favorite Christmas gift you've ever received from anyone?
Oh man, so it would have been when I was really young. And I don't know if these were the same year or not, but no, they were the same year, but one was my birthday, one was Christmas. So for Christmas, it was this stuffed teddy bear that I had until I was 17.
Cool.
Yeah, and the only reason I ended up giving it away was because one of my mom's coworkers, her family's house burned down, all their stuff, all their kids' stuff. But yeah, put a little more than that time.
That's one. That's the other one.
And then yeah, for my birthday, it was a sweater jacket, just like my uncle's. I was maybe 3 or 4 at the time. Yeah, it was just cool little gifts.
What is the one food you will never put in your mouth ever?
So that's actually really interesting because I already put it in my mouth. Sauerkraut. I absolutely despise sauerkraut. I can't even do it like on my throat. Whereas
Is it the smell? Is it the texture, the taste? What is the big offense?
It's the taste, I think.
Is it?
Could be part taste and smell, but mostly taste. I've never been able to get around it. But I'm also a big believer in trying everything at least once. And
Sure.
I tried it a couple times. Just to appease my mom at the time.
That a boy. Amen.
And then it finally got to the point where I just told her, like, I'm not gonna eat that, but if you keep making the sausage, the bratwurst with it, like I'll eat that, but I'm not gonna eat the sauerkraut.
And eventually the message was received.
Yeah, I mean, she was pretty understanding, pretty cool about that. But I also haven't eaten sauerkraut in 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Okay. What is your take on Spain?
I actually haven't tried it. Haven't had a chance to try it. Haven't made the effort to try it, but I think if prepared properly, it could be just as good as anything else.
I'm a proponent. If you fry it up and dice it up, you can do anything with it if you want. Kids don't know. I'm not saying I've done that, kids, but I'm just saying, think about it. It can save you some money in the future.
I have the same opinion when it comes to like tofu. I
Yes.
started exploring with tofu, and everyone's always like, "Oh, I don't like tofu. Like, it's got a weird texture," or "Oh, it's like flavorless." And it all depends on how you prepare it. And like, there's different types of tofu. You can get like a soft tofu, like a real soft tofu. Really just got texture. So it just kind of depends on how much you're willing to adventure. Again, I'm a firm believer in trying everything at least once, so I can at least say I tried it and whether I liked it or not.
So we're amazed you have any teeth based on all the sugary things you say you like to consume. What is your favorite potato chip?
I'm actually not a big fan of potatoes. I know.
Where are you?
If I really had to pick it, I'd just like some those originals. Fritos. Do those count?
Wait, do you dip them or you just like eat them straight out of the pan?
Do Fritos count though?
I mean, get salt on them.
I don't know, it's not really a chip, but I'd say Funyuns.
Funyuns aren't bad. They're kind of a throwback to when life was a whole lot easier than it is now. Yeah, I could see enjoying them.
And out of all the other chip related products and everything, they haven't really seemed to switch up their formula a whole lot. Some major taste differences, anything different from it.
Sure.
It's basically just fried batter without the onion in it. So
dog or cat?
Both.
Oh, yeah. Under the same roof.
Absolutely.
Do they get along in this story of yours?
Yeah. Our dog and our 2 cats get along great.
There you go. I have 2 dogs. They get along with no one except me. So that's, hey, you know what? They love daddy. That's what they do. All right. So I just want to get a little bit of background about you, just kind of, see what makes you tick, what you're all about. A couple of other things you mentioned I think are interesting, and we talked about it off air, but I want to get it here. Walk me through some of your anime because I know you're a fan, and we don't get to talk a lot of anime, and I want to change that. So you just kind of open the door for us and kind of introduce us to anime as you've experienced it through your eyes.
So it really kind of depends. There's a lot of negative connotations that come to watching it. Even as somebody who's been watching it for a while, there is a lot of negative connotations that can come with it easily. So I pronounce it fan service.
And I don't happen to know what that means. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've done the research.
For those of you who don't know what it means, fan service is
You can describe what it is.
it's just an over it's an exuberant amount of sexual
somethingization.
yeah
Yeah.
you know so yeah, that's one of the biggest negative connotations that come with it. If you're able to look past that, there also is a lot of anime out there that isn't directly, doesn't have a lot of that involved in it. There's different types of genre for anime, just like there is for regular TV and anything like that. So it really just comes down to what you're looking for at the end of the day. I watch everything from like slice of life type stuff, which really hits home, makes me cry every time.
Okay.
Things with lots of violence, such as Attack on Titan. That's one of the more popular ones right now.
Even I know that one.
Right. Some of the older school ones, Naruto, Bleach.
See, I've heard of those two. See, I'm doing good so far.
One I've only got about 25 episodes in, and will not bring myself to watch One Piece, which is arguably like the most iconic anime that you could think of to do.
What keeps you from going back? Because I literally don't know.
So they're at they're about to be over 1,000 episodes. Right. So it'd be like someone who, like, in 5 years, is like trying to catch up on Marvel. In 5 years.
The other way Disney Plus is going. That's true. That's
right.
Probably a really good analogy.
So I would have to fit a good 10, 15 years worth of anime into my time just to catch up. Very daunting.
You got work to do, son. You got to get it done. Okay, so we're not going to get any updates. There'll be no reaction shows coming from him about that One Piece. So what genre, what parts of anime really appeal to you? Any particular franchises?
Naruto.
He's rocking a shirt representing, as the kids say. How we all talk.
Yeah. Naruto was obviously one of the biggest ones. That's what got me into.
So it's not Naruto. I've been seeing it wrong all along. All right, that's okay. Well, I feel corrected. This is good.
There's anime like Toradora, which is a slice of life anime about feelings for each other for the longest time, trying to get attached, and then it's a nice little thing. It's they both got their emotional traumas and
how do you feel about Sailor Moon? Checking.
I've never finished it. Like, I've never watched it all the way through. I've always caught it like here and there. I need to sit down and actually watch it.
Okay.
And then obviously Cowboy Bebop, one of the old school classics. And I'm sure there's some even older ones that I would just never watch because it's a little before my time.
You watch My Hero Academia?
Yeah, I do like it.
You like it?
Yeah, I really enjoy it.
I have cousins that like it as well. So okay. I know just enough to be dangerous. They speak the language. I don't do it as well because I don't have as much time. Kind of like you are. We have to work real jobs. They're teenagers, so they have a little more time than we do. Stay up later than us old people can.
I miss those days. Not that I say that.
I miss being able to. Yeah, they don't pay me for that work, unfortunately. What you mentioned you started reading comic books. What were really your main go-to titles?
It was usually always the X-Men. X-Men was always my biggest comic. Just everything X-Men was really like what I was all about when I was young. All of the one-off stuff, all of the not what if, the one-off spin-off comics, things like that. There's a version of the world where like Loki invades takes over all of the those things that hunt down the X-Men.
Sentinel?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Takes over all the Sentinels and killed all the X-Men. Like that's a whole like side story thing. Like, but yeah, the X-Men was always like my biggest thing. I was always obsessed with Wolverine. I did deep dives and everything I could about him. I tried to find out all the information I could. Kind of lost a lot of that information over the years just because I'm not staying up with it.
Right.
But
Well, and his
like,
story has been rebooted a bunch of different times too. I mean, he was a soldier in World War One. He fought in the Civil War. Oh no, maybe he didn't. Maybe he had the claws. He was born with them. You know, not the adamantium, but the bone over to produce the claws. And there's been a lot of stuff there. It's gonna be interesting to see what Marvel finally decides is their official. Even though in the comic book series they still do some changes and different things. Did you get a chance to play? I think you said yes. The Avengers video game.
yes. Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I think it's good for what it is. It's pretty straightforward, just like beat 'em up. The story is pretty fun for the most part. What I've played so far. I haven't finished it, so I don't know how it all connects.
Because you have Wakanda coming up that section, correct?
Yeah, I'm working on Hawkeye section in the game right now.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool. What I've gotten through so far. I'm up to, I think I'm at the last fight now.
Who you fighting?
Maestro.
Good. I thought it was an interesting story. I played it with Kid Duba when he was down here for a couple of weeks. I think I liked what kind of story. I liked it. I think he will. Yeah. I like the Mighty Thor stuff that they did. I actually think their storyline and idea was really smart in what they did. And it doesn't really tie into the MCU. Some of it is compatible, but a lot of it is its own universe, I guess, storyline. But I think it's pretty good. I told you it's a little weird when Miss Marvel's giving orders to the Avengers and they're running around following her. That feels a little odd to me. I don't think that would happen normally, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. Yeah. So just kind of catch up a little bit on Disney Plus. We haven't had a chance to talk Kenobi. Did you watch it? No, I haven't. And we're not going to bug you with it. Did you watch Miss Marvel?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, well let's talk about stuff I know you watched. WandaVision.
Yeah, I've seen WandaVision.
What was your take on it overall?
It was kind of cheesy starting out, and then it really like the last 4 episodes it really progressed into something much deeper. Looking back on it, it really wasn't that great of a series, in my opinion. Up until a couple episodes where they really started to like make sense of everything,
right?
Why everything was going on, who Agatha was,
who's actually going to be getting a release here.
Yeah.
Now, is that a movie or is that a Disney Plus series?
I think it's a series.
Okay, that would make more sense. I love that actress.
Yeah,
Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, so good.
She's just she eats up the lens with that big wink and smile thing. You're just like, oh, she's very, very good. And I actually liked it when they transformed her in that final fight. Yeah. I thought it looked very believable. Yeah. For what a witch would look like.
It was a nice reveal.
I thought so.
It almost feels like it came out of nowhere. But I think if you actually kind of sit there and think about everything that's been happening, none of it would really make sense without some sort of interference.
It was really weird watching it because there were some psychological things like, wow, Disney Plus let them do that. When they, when the different characters break the fourth wall, at least for Wanda, the one parent asked him to die. Yeah. Because of torture and asking for a child. Okay. That's very deep stuff that I kind of feel like they glossed over on purpose because I don't think that's where they wanted to go. They gave just enough to let you know. The only thing I did not like, well, 2 things. One, Vision disappears, never see him again, or at least the Vision they sent in there. Mm-hmm. That's not been referenced in anything as far as I know. Yeah. Since that point, the other thing is there's a conversation in the end when I don't know what they're going to call Ms. Rambo, I guess. Photon or whatever is what they'll call her. It's like people will never know how much she sacrificed. And I'm like, she held an entire town captive, created 2 children out of her mind, and you're telling me we don't know what she suffered? Right. I know what they were going for. I just don't think they executed it well. Yeah. That one sticks in my craw. I can't help it. But overall, it was pretty interesting. Now, me being older than you, I like the 50s and the 60s and the 70s because growing up as a child of the 80s, you still saw shows from the 50s, 60s, and 70s in reruns, not like we would today. So for my age, because even Lady Cephas is watching it, like, this is weird after the first episode or two, but by the time they hit the episode in the 70s, it clicked for her. Oh, she's working her way through because of her backstory of the DVDs and things, watching the movies. Makes sense. I liked it.
Yeah.
I don't think we need another season of it. I think the story's been told. I think we're good there. Low key, I thought it was good. I wasn't a fan of, sometimes it just broke down to just a whole lot of talking. I don't need action every 5 minutes. It's like, what did Owen talk? That's what it felt like in some parts. But there was some really good stuff in there that I enjoyed. I want to see where they come back with season 2. It's going to be interesting, one way or the other. And I don't know where you go now because you change time, and now you got different variants. And I thought one interesting things is I read that at one point they had thought about having a variant of Rocket Raccoon. I could not have handled that. I'd have been so excited. That'd been great. He's my favorite character in Marvel. I asked you for Star Wars. I'm going to give you the chance in Marvel. One thing you can change. You can pick the franchise or Marvel as a whole. What's the one thing you would change? All right. So one thing you would change in Marvel could be the entirety of the IP or a specific franchise in Marvel in the cinematic universe.
So theoretically speaking, any changes I make are irrelevant as long as Ken's in control of it. But I think if I had to make one big change, I think I almost say that it would be the Peter Parker backstory.
In what way?
In like we have like one superhero who like has an okay life and everything. Like obviously we got that one recently with Miss Marvel.
I was going to say that's probably the only one I can think of.
That was 2013 when she was introduced into the comic universe.
That's true.
Spider-Man. He was introduced pretty early. I don't know about pretty early, relatively speaking, but significantly early. And everyone just always has like these tragic backstories, which is really good for building up like that superhero mindset that Marvel wants to establish. Like these guys can, these men can overcome it. Like, that's their superpower at the end of it. But Uncle Ben died for no reason, really.
That's not true. He died because Peter didn't stop.
Oh God. Yeah.
The learning lesson.
Yeah.
Remember, some people here on Earth, for example, don't be like them. So I look at it. What did you think of them kind of retconning that with Aunt May doing with great power comes great responsibility? I have some acquaintances that were incredibly missed at that.
I was so genuinely sad at that moment because the second she started delivering my mind, I was like, well, here we go. That's it. It was great knowing you. You've gotten younger every single iteration, but at least now you're dying.
You say it like it's a bad thing. I don't understand.
I mean, it's not a bad thing per se, but it was always Uncle Ben and Aunt May were like, ancient.
You're saying she's not?
No, she was what, late 30s, early 40s, maybe.
Maybe.
Aunt May and Uncle Ben and like the original 60, 70, like.
Yeah, if you look at the Tobey Maguire movies, for sure, Aunt May is significantly older.
Like Thanos didn't need to snap to turn into us back.
I really don't think that's where we need to go with this. You know what? You lose the ability to make any changes in Marvel for that type of tone and attitude right there.
You know what? If I had to make one change to Marvel, when he split the universe in half, it should have been half the people died, not half the population.
Why? You want people dead?
Kind of funny. Everyone's searching for their other half.
No, that's a Walking Dead episode. Literally, it'd be zombies trying to crawl on the ground.
I mean, yeah, they're not all dead.
Yes, they are. You can't survive being hewn in half. Well, Darth Maul did, but we still understand why. Because we didn't get a second movie because people didn't like Solo movie. I finally saw the Solo movie. And I'm like, cute little movie. I almost got punched out by a severe Star Wars fan because I described it as quite a cute little movie. I'm like, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I'm like, that's cool. But it's good. It's cool. I didn't say it was good. It's cool. But with all the troubles they had to get to that point, they're just lucky they turned out a movie with everything going on. Where do you see Star Wars going from here? Do you think it'll be a movie franchise, or do you think it'll be a while before we see a movie and they'll just pour content onto Disney Plus?
I think after these last three, while they may have been commercial successes, I don't think they had quite the success that they were expecting from it. So I don't think we'll see a movie anytime soon. I think we'll see a couple of Disney Plus series before we get into the movie, which with Ahsoka coming in, I believe it had been Kenobi.
Sure.
I'm sure there's still plenty more stuff that they can do, but a lot of it too also depends on what they want to end up doing with the Star Wars universe. Because if they do decide to go the route of retconning a lot of things and taking things, throwing them out the window and being like that's not canon anymore, they're gonna have a lot to do.
They are, and I wonder if that just fuels some of the fan base to be anti whatever they're doing. And there are plenty of things in Star Wars I can pick apart. I've watched them enough times in my life. I can tell you.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you this. Let's just see what kind of fan you are. Sarlacc, The Pit, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you like it better in the original or the one with like the plant things coming out of it in the revised movie show? In the original, it was just like a T, and you'd have like a tentacle coming out of it.
Yeah.
In the new shoots they did for the re-release, right before the prequels came out, they redid them and added new scenes, the new CGI into them. One of them was like a plant in the middle.
I never saw that.
You're a good man. He passes the test.
I saw the original three.
Good man. He passes the test. I still keep the three original.
Yeah.
I will not watch the revised one.
I think we still have them somewhere in the house. If I think about it, because it was all on the stuff that I didn't do that.
I can't help it. It's just what I grew up loving. That's what I did. All right. So ask you something I haven't asked you. How big a cartoon person are you as a fan? Did you watch cartoons growing up as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
What were your favorite?
So a little more from my time would have been like Adventure Time. Tom and Jerry, obviously, at times.
Unless you're Tom taking the beating all the time.
She keeps coming back for it.
Because he's been beaten so bad. Sorry, I don't like anybody suffering over long periods of time.
Adventure Time, regular show, some of the older stuff, Cow and Chicken.
Okay.
There was, what was that one? It wasn't George. Was it? There was a cartoon version similar to George of the Jungle. I can't remember the name of it anymore. Powerpuff Girls, Kids Next Door, the original Teen Titans, not all the new stuff.
Not the anime version, the older one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The good one.
The one that was somewhat grounded in reality.
Right. That was a little more for teenagers.
Yeah. Before this one came along. It's funny, don't get me wrong.
But it just and it's a shame. And it's not a shame that they use the same voice actors from like the original Teen Titans. But it's like you guys went from like, this kind of like groundbreaking cartoon and really exploring, I guess, how the cartoons that, 42 of well, I guess the DC universe was really kind of the only ones exploring at that time. To kind of turn this whatever.
Now, are you a Walking Dead fan?
So I have watched. What was the last season? I watched all the way. Spoiler alert for anyone who's 90 seasons behind at this point. Watched it to the point where Negan, everyone's headed, and I saw the reveal of like who it all was and everything,
right.
And I think that was the last episode I watched.
So you didn't make it to the Kingdom arc where they run into King Ezekiel. All right. Well, the actor who plays King Ezekiel in Walking Dead, Corey Payton, is actually the voice of the Cyborg character in the both versions.
Yeah.
So he's got a steady job. So even with Walking Dead coming to an end, he's still hooked up. He's good to go. Well, in our day, voice acting wasn't really very glamorous. Now, name people do voice acting,
Yeah,
right?
which, in my opinion, is kind of dumb.
Also,
I think voice acting should be done. So voice actors, I'm not saying that these actors can't be voice actors, and vice versa, that voice actors can't be like normal actors. But I mean, there's a reason people go into the field specifically like for voice acting, and there's a reason some people are just actors.
right.
But I think voice acting requires a significantly different set.
Well,
skill set.
I think Mark Hamill's done a really good job.
Oh,
with
Mark
his voice
Hamill.
acting in the video games, his renditions of the Joker.
Yes.
That he's kind of an exception to the rule where he's kind of taken to it really well.
And there's definitely a couple over the years.
Mhm.
Mark Hamill obviously being the most notable one. From Skywalker to being the Joker. One of my favorite Jokers personally, and not all of them my favorite Joker. So yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Like people shouldn't be afraid to like step out of their role. I'm not saying like actors should act. But I mean, these voice actors that go to school for years, or they don't work for years, just to get overshadowed by someone who just happens to have a really good name and has been in the acting business for 10 years. They've got plenty of credits and the entertainment businesses because judge them as not screen friendly. Right.
Praise for radio here.
Right.
DC Super Pets opened this past weekend. Did not do particularly well overall. Did not get a high number. I thought the trailer wasn't very good. I like The Rock. I like Kevin Hart. Don't show me The Rock and Kevin Hart reading lines. Give me a trailer. And they did the same thing with the Samuel L. Jackson movie here. Right after that is the other cartoon movie.
Yeah.
Not Paws of Fury, but something. Yeah, where they're like pulling the long cart up like it's a limo, and I'm like, don't show me the actors reading the lines. That I'm not understanding what that's about, to be completely candid.
Yeah, I think the problem with DC Super Pets is no one cares about Krypton. Or not Krypton, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I mean,
Superman cared.
More than
Supergirl cared.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But But no one really cares about the pets. There was a time period when people did care about pets, because there was Crypto, Super Dog. He had his own TV show.
What about the Wonder Twins and Gleek? Wow, absolutely nothing for that. Thank goodness Zaslav cut that movie on his first day on the job.
The Wonder Twins are they're good supporting characters, but they're really not, in my opinion. Yeah. I think one of their biggest accomplishments is turning into a bunch of
There is a commercial or a scene from Cartoon Network back in the day where one of them turns into water, and you can go look at it if you want to. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but I'm not looking at it. Well, I guess maybe that was the best thing. Jason, I forget the other one's name. Jana, maybe. I can't remember.
the twins,
yeah, the one. Yeah, that movie got canceled its first day with new boss on it. But nope.
Smart man.
He's like, yeah, we're not spending money on that.
And I mean, you don't want to bring in all these pointless characters for no reason if you're not building for something. And
is DC even building for something anymore, or do you think it's just going to be standalone stuff? With the exception of, I guess, Aquaman now has Ben Affleck back,
right?
As Bat, which, by the way, I like him as Batman.
Solid Batman.
He's fine.
I think he does a really good job of portraying like the action side of Batman that we're all used to seeing, that we know is iconic.
He has a more serious look at it. But I will say something that's completely controversial. I'm probably going to be yanked off the air. I actually like George Clooney as Batman. I thought he had the Bruce Wayne look with the pepper, a little bit of pepper in the hair, salt and pepper. He looked at about the right age. The material was not good,
and
but I thought he would have made a really good one if given the opportunity.
I think the issue there lies with his role as Batman. I don't think he could play a good Batman. Obviously, he looks the part of like what you expect from the
right,
doing things on his own terms.
Must be nice.
Right.
That ain't us.
But I don't think his role as Batman would have worked out. I don't think he could have kind of attained that aggression and like ferociousness, like in terms of acting that Batman has. Granted, you can also always use stunt doubles and stuff like that.
You could, but yeah, you're right. The intensity's got to be there for what he does. What about, were you a big fan of Christian Bale and his Batman portrayal? You were?
Yeah. But again, I think a lot of the issue with Batman over the last 10 to 20 years, it's been everyone kind of portraying Batman as, just like the angry, like war machine Batman.
Right.
We don't really get to see like Bruce Wayne. We don't get like, we don't kind of get like the gentleman side or like the Bruce Wayne side. We really just kind of see like a brooding Bruce Wayne for a couple minutes, and then it's all right. Here's the next 2 hours of him going ham on Joker, who he refuses to kill.
So, are you not a fan of the brooding, as a general rule?
No, I mean I think it's essential to the character, but I think there's more depth to it than is portrayed. Like I feel like as controversial as it sounds, Robert Pattinson did a solid job as a Batman. He played like equal parts of Bruce Wayne and Batman relatively well.
Did you see the Arrowverse crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths?
No.
When written out of the Arrowverse?
No.
One of the Earths they're on, they run into the voice actor from Batman in the series. Basically, voice Batman forever. And he is Bruce Wayne in that universe in a mech suit. It's only like a 5-minute cameo. And of course, he's portrayed as a jerk and whatever. But to see him on screen do Batman, or I'm like, that makes me happy. Right. I've got 30 years of his voice in my head.
Yeah. I was speaking of like Batman, sorry. The Batman Beyond.
Terry McGinnis,
fantastic.
I liked it. I didn't think I would, but I liked it, and also his appearances in Justice League Unlimited, underrated, man. Those episodes you talk about taking stuff on. And trying out stuff, seeing Batman sing at a nightclub, it's just so glorious. It was a really good, I don't think it gets a lot of the remembrance it probably should. I don't think Batman the Animated Series, which honestly, if you want to talk about in the 90s, it was that, Spider-Man the Animated Series, and then X-Men, which they're coming back with, yes. Which I was a fan of. But Disney's done something, sometimes I bash them, but I'm a fan. That's what we do, right? Fanatic. They did something really good with X-Men that I found out last week, and that is they put them in the order in which they're supposed to be watched. One of the problems Fox Kids, it's been a while, always aired episodes out of sequence. So you didn't really get the episode order they were meant to be viewed in. Disney Plus fixed that. So now they're in the order by season in what order you should watch it. And let me put in a crazy plug here. There is an episode in the last 5 or 6 episodes where there are no X-Men in it. It's about Mr. Sinister and his origin story. The only X-Men in it is for like 10 seconds, and it's Professor Xavier laying in bed having a nightmare. And it tells the story of Sinister's rise to evilness. It's set against in Europe Darwinism, the religious opposition to it, terming it blasphemy. It's really interesting that a show would do that back in the day. While Jack the Ripper's running it, right? Which, come on, 11 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning on Saturday morning for kids, maybe not the best thing. I mean, there's one scene where you see the foot and you're like, oh, how horrible. And I'm like, it's dead on the screen. In a children's cartoon, Dad is a doornail, not coming back. Right. So I really think there's some interesting things. Hopefully some of the younger fans will go on and try it. The animation's not great. Some of it's not finished because they kept passing it around to different animation houses. That's not unusual from those days. I mean, heck, we see Disney and the VFX companies fighting right now. A lot of the workers saying we're overworked, we can't keep up. No disrespect, but I think we replace me with you. Unfortunately, oftentimes that's how employees are treated. So it's not just today. It's been going on for a lot of years. But go back and do that. Do yourself a flavor and do yourself a flavor. Yeah, it'll taste good. Go back and watch the animated series. Before Well, and they also do the Phoenix story as well. So you can now see it 4 different ways.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if they do the Phoenix story, I'm getting them walking out. I can't see it for a 5th time. 5 different ways, dude. No.
I mean, to be fair, we've gotten
Well, that's true. I keep coming back for more like,
I think to make it through.
maybe. I don't want to put myself out there. Not yet. I need to see what Kevin Feige's going to do before I get all excited about that. You get to pick. Who's the first surprise we see in a comic book movie as we go into these new phases? Who is someone they're going to pop up on screen and the crowd's going to lose their minds? What character?
I really want Chris Evans to come back as Johnny Storm. That would be the greatest thing that's like happened in cinematic history for me.
I don't know, man. I thought him rocking the beard when he shows up in Scotland they were in.
Yeah.
When he catches to me, that was one of the greatest moments. When he just catches it, he steps into the light. I'm like, I'm not, but I want to look like him and be him. That's so cool.
No, but I think the one big surprise that I think is going to happen that like expecting it's going to be Magneto.
Really?
I mean, I have a feeling we're going to see Magneto. Without giving too much away in the storyline, I don't remember if he fits into the storyline at all or not, with where it ends at. But I think that is going to be one of the biggest shocks that we're going to get character-wise. Because obviously we're talking about like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, with the Fantastic Four that shock people with like the Silver Surfer, but we've all seen the Silver Surfer before, so you're not shocking. Right,
we've seen it.
Right, so it's about like
now Galactus would impress me.
A good Galactus.
A good Galactus, but that's 10 years down the road before they ever get to that. Well,
it might be sooner than you think.
Let me ask you this: do you think there's enough of a fan base to care about the Fantastic Four?
I think so.
Do you? Because they're one of the oldest Marvel, early '60s.
Yeah.
One of the really older properties. I don't know if there's going to be as much clamoring. You hear the terms used, a normal fan, a normie, versus the hardcores, right? Depends on how sweaty you want to get. I don't know if there's going to be that support for that. I don't know if they're as well known. I mean, look, Thor wasn't well known when his movie franchise started. Captain America was a modest hit. Iron Man, nobody knew. So you had to build that up, and now they're part of us.
Yeah.
So I do look forward to seeing how that works with the Fantastic Four for all the coming to Phase 4. They're the Fantastic Four. Nah, the world situation changed all that. Plus, you needed to have the rights anyway. So, no, you're fine.
I think they've had enough iterations that have been spaced out that there's enough people to care about them now that they're under a company that has put out massive hit after massive hit. Because very few of their movies have been like absolute flops.
Yeah, I think it's only 1 or 2 financially that really.
But
Well, they're saying it's not going to be an origin story. Fantastic Four, it's just going to be straight in.
Right, which would make sense because of what I think Black Panther is going to introduce, which we talked about on screen. We'll talk about that on screen.
Yeah, we'll save that for another time.
But like there is no time for an origin story unless they introduce them in another way,
right?
Sometime before that plane release, which could very well
happen.
I think Marvel's still holding a lot of cards that they're not ready to put out there yet,
right?
Because they're planning to take a reaction after Comic-Con's reveals.
I would say the reaction overall is quite positive.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that's going to happen with the Marvel is Deadpool and Logan recently being added to Disney Plus. Obviously, we could all expect Logan within the requirements when they purchased him. Deadpool is kind of surprising.
I thought that was a Hulu deal. I really thought that's what they would do with those movies, kind of keep them over there.
But I think what's happening is whoever owns it, because I don't know who owns Deadpool. So I don't know if he was owned by 20th Century.
I think he would be just because of his Under the X-Men umbrella.
Right.
I think they would have owned.
So if that's the case, it all makes sense. He's going to kind of be our first rated R character, which will be interesting to see how he fits into the Disney fold. Because if you censor Deadpool, you're going to lose a lot of things. Because Deadpool is the month of the month. That is his whole shtick.
Well, they're talking about Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. That's interesting. I give them credit for going there.
Yeah.
Now let's see if they go there.
Because if you do that, you can't skip anything. Because in the comics, that is a gruesome.
Because he had to,
Right.
not just because he had nothing better to do.
Right.
Let's just go kill him. So that's going to be a longer move,
Yeah.
and you're going to have ton of cameos in that.
Yeah.
So I think we'll still be. When I say fan service, not the kind that we were talking about earlier, but fan service to kind of like, oh, cool! It's so great to see them. Not that much of them.
Although we did get some fan service in Portland. I don't know if you've seen it yet. But we did get to see both backside. So.
Did we?
Yeah.
Did we? Okay, well, to each their own, that's fine. I can't compete, therefore I just don't even try. I'm not there. He's Thor, I'm more Tasmanian devil build, but that's okay.
Some people like that.
And with that, we are going to start wrapping up this episode of Visiting with Terrence the Larynx. I'm not really sure where to go from there after that. I'm a little uncomfortable, and I think I'm going to take the dogs for a walk so I can get that out of my mind. Any last words you want to share with the people before we sign off?
No, I think that's it. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Dude, I've enjoyed it, and he's promised he'd come back. Can't come back every week because of his work and life schedule, but he'll try and come back every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have you in the rotation. If everything works out the way I'm thinking, we can have it to where you have your own little thing too, to kind of talk about what's on your mind, just kind of share with fans. So I'm Lord Cephas. He is Terrence the Larynx. We appreciate you listening. Click the like and subscribe button. That really helps us in the YouTube algorithm, and we will see you back here soon. Take care, everybody.